This is Bizarre Dimensions with Russ and John. And now we are talking paranormal.
Hello and welcome to Bizarre Dimensions with Wednesbury Paranormal. And tonight our subject will be Aleister Crowley. Aleister was born on the 12th of October 1875 in Royal Leamington Spa, born Edward Aleister Crowley. He was later to be the world's most famous occultist and was a writer and world-renowned mountaineer. A fact little known, that this was forgotten due to him becoming known as the most evil man in the world due to his occultism. His father was an heir to a brewing firm and fortune, who became an evangelist for a Plymouth nonconformist religious denomination. Crowley, however, rejected his parents' Christian fundamentalist faith. Crowley was a student at Trinity College, University of Cambridge. It is there he adopted the name Aleister. There he focused on his poetry and his mountaineering. It is also alleged at this time Crowley was recruited by the British Intelligence Agency as a spy. Crowley left university in 1898 and didn't take his degree as his own inheritance had left him enough money to travel the world. This also allowed him to write and publish his very first book of poetry in 1898. This was to be the first of many. As a mountaineer, Crowley honed his skills on the cliffs of Great Britain and then joined teams to take part in pioneering attempts to climb Earth's second and third highest mountains, K2 and Kanchenjunga. In 1902, the K2 expedition reached 18,600 feet. However, in 1905 the Kanchenjunga expedition was marred by tragedy when 4 of the fellow climbers were killed during an avalanche. It was noted Crowley had advised them against using the route, which ended in the fatalities. It was also claimed that Crowley ignored the calls for help from the survivors of the avalanche, a claim which was never proven. Crowley first became interested in the occult in 1898, when he then joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, training as a ceremonial magician under Samuel Liddell, MacGregor Mathis and Alan Bennett. Crowley married Rose Edith Kelly in 1904, where they honeymooned in Cairo, Egypt. It is here Crowley wrote the Book of the Law, a poem which he claimed had been dictated to him by a demon called Alwas. In it, he put together his most famous teaching, which was, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." This was to become the basis of a new religion Crowley called Thelema. The Book of the Law was accepted by a mystical group, the Ordo Templi Orientis, as a scripture, therefore taking Crowley as favoured. The Book of the Law announced the start of the Aeon of Horus, declaring that its followers should do what thou wilt and seek to align themselves with their true will through the practice of magic. Crowley and his wife became parents on the 28th of July 1905, having a daughter they named Lilith. His second daughter, arriving in February 1907, named Lola Zaza, shortly after Lilith had died of typhoid. Crowley, then with his old mentor George Cecil Jones, continued to perform the rituals of a Bremelin at the Ashdown Park Hotel in Coulsdon, Surrey, where he made heavy use of hashish in his rituals, which he championed their use as an aid to mysticism. In 1907, Crowley then founded his own group, which he called AA, using the initials that stood for the Latin word for Silver Star. Crowley described AA as a spiritual organisation where its members are dedicated to the advancement of humanity by perfection of the individual on every plane, through which they propagated Thelema. In 1912, Crowley was initiated into the esoteric order of the German-based Ordo Templi Orientis, an international fraternal and religious organisation founded at the beginning of the 20th century by Karl Keller and Theodore Roos. Crowley is now the most famous and most influential part of the still active order. After the First World War, Crowley moved to Cefalù on the island of Sicily, Italy. There he converted a house into a sanctuary he called the Abbey of Thelema. During this time in 1922 he wrote the book The Diary of a Drug Fiend, a novel published which was said to be based on his own personal experience. The title, The Wickedest Man in the World, was given to Crowley when one of his young followers in Italy died from taking part in a sacrilegious ritual. This also led to Crowley's expulsion from Italy in 1923. Crowley gained widespread notoriety during his lifetime, being a recreational drug experimenter, a bisexual and an individualist social critic. He was denounced in the press as the wickedest man in the world and Satanist. Crowley is still a highly influential figure of a Western esotericism and counterculture. He remains a prophet in Thelema, a subject of many biographies and academic studies. Having very little of his fortune left, he moved back to Great Britain in the 1930s. His last novel was called The Book of Thoth in 1944, in which he designed a new tarot deck he called the Thoth. Crowley died in poverty and obscurity in a boarding house in 1947. However, after his death he became a figure of fascination in popular culture. The Beatles even used his picture on the album cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and Jimmy Page, lead guitarist of Led Zeppelin, purchased his house in Scotland near Loch Ness. We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. From Bizarre Dimensions and Wednesbury Paranormal, good night.